All right, good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. I know it's crazy, end of the year, everything else that's going on, but I want to give you some details about how our kids did this year, all right? I'm so glad to see the 5th grade team here, plus we have ESE support. So it's important that we reach all of our science students. So I want to talk about improving grade 5 science exam scores. So one of the things that you may be aware of this past year is that we've given 3 progress monitoring assessments, or PMAs, PMA 1, 2, and 3. Plus we had a diagnostic exam right after spring break. So our kids had 4 days of science testing in the month of March. 2 days right before spring break, 2 days immediately after spring break. So they were totally tested, but we do have some things that try to prepare them for these exams, okay? Other than our basic instruction, having our teachers, our curriculum from the STO. One of the things that we brought to our school mid-February was Study Island, okay? I know many of you in here are now familiar with this, but Study Island, again, is rigorous content. It's all based on the state standards. So they have different programs for different states. You can buy Study Island for reading, you can buy it for math. Our school just happened to buy it now for science. And I love it because it has different DOKs. It's not like a DOK1 recall, right? It has our kids compare and contrast. It has our kids synthesize different material and stuff too. So we are kind of living, when our kids do Study Island, they're not doing basic recall. They are working in like DOK2, DOK3, which is actually where they should be, right? Building vocabulary is important, but this gives them practical, real-life applications of science content. So, I was talking about earlier the diagnostic exam, right? So, when our students work on Study Island and they pass the test, right? We set our goal at 70%. So, the students read a lesson. So typical Study Island, before I kind of get to this, right? They log in, they pick a lesson, they can read through the slides, they can also have it read to them. And then when they get to the point where they're ready to take an exam, right? There's 10 questions, multiple choice, so it mirrors the FSA. If they pass with a 70%, they get a blue ribbon. So this software program calls it a blue ribbon. So I took our diagnostic tests, and I looked at the bottom 9, and then I also looked at the top 9. So I was just looking, what was their scores, how many blue ribbons did they earn? And by this point, you can see the data's through March 27th. So our kids were probably using this program maybe 4, maybe 5 weeks. And we were lucky at this school that we actually had computer time to use it. Some of the other STO schools, when they have specials, there wasn't an allotted computer time, so it was a real struggle to get in. Does anyone notice anything about the lowest 9 and the highest 9 in the group? Do they want to share out? Miss Ellis.
The lowest 9 don't have many blue ribbons.
Yeah, then what can you say is the opposite true? Then for the highest 9?
Most of them.
Yeah, most of them do, at least double digits, right? So you can see there is somewhat of a correlation between the lowest 9, 3 kids didn't even do any, right? And then the highest 9 students, we do have an anomaly, right? The highest score did earn 60 blue ribbons. I'll show you on the next slide. I actually deleted that from the data to get a better comparison. But generally speaking, right, the blue ribbons were pretty much double digits, okay? So you can kind of see there's a little bit of a difference between doing Study Island and not doing Study Island in student performance. So again, many factors contribute to test scores. This really isn't that scientific because I don't have a control group. We have so many variables in our classrooms. We have the testing environment, was someone mad or angry that day? The student preparedness, I know we were preparing our students. We had reviews, I know we have excellent teachers here. They follow the plans, they engage the students, the instruction all given, right? So there's many different factors that go into test scores. But generally speaking, from what you just saw, the kids with the highest scores averaged about 9.3 blue ribbons in the course of about 4 to 5 weeks. So they were earning about 2 ribbons a week. Whereas the lowest scores averaged about 2.1 blue ribbons. Okay, and that's to the point where you're earning or passing just 1 lesson about every 2 weeks at that point. So you have kids doing 2 lessons a week on average, to down here, the lowest group was doing about 1 lesson every 2 weeks. So big difference on that. So then I wanted to look at, well, kids who did at least 5 lessons, right? So now I started looking at students who completed at least 5 lessons by the time of the diagnostic exam, okay? Again, the Study Island data, I was able to pull it through March 27th, 2019. So you can see the scores from the PMA 1, 2, and 3. Again, those are the earlier diagnostic exams. And then the actual diagnostic, which is highlighted in either green or yellow. Now those are based from the county. They set the scores for it. I have a column for how many blue ribbons that those students actually earned by that point. And the increase, then I just decided to look at, well, what was the diagnostic score? And then any other exam, the highest score. I didn't care if it was the PMA 1, the PMA 2, or the PMA 3, okay? Does anyone notice anything about the increase, that last column on the board? Is there anything you can generally say about that? By students who complete at least 5 lessons and earn 5 blue ribbons, how did they perform on the diagnostic? Miss Ellis?
They went up more, at least 10%.
Yeah.
All but one.
Yeah, all but one went up at least 10%. And we
One
even
went
had
up
some
24.
kids go up, 21, 24%. I equate that to letter grades, right? 10% is a letter grade. So when you have kids going up 21, 24%, that is a really, really large increase. The one thing I really like about this is that we had kids who were already roughly achieving. General rule of thumb, if you score 65% on the diagnostic test, that's roughly the start of a FSA level 3, generally speaking. So we had some kids up here who were just on the cusp of being at level 3, right? They went up, but then look at those kids at the bottom. We've had kids score 32, 40, and 44, then all of a sudden jumps up to 56%. Kid who scores a 28 more than doubles it 2 tests later. So really, really big increases by students who earn those blue ribbons. And again, same kind of general things, right? Many things go into factors, right? There's many different factors for scores. You guys are all educators. You know that many different things, some things we can control, some things we can't control, but it's our job to make sure we give them the tools, right? But I love the fact that there were increases all across the board. Our kids who were green got higher green. Our kids who were on the lower level even moved up a little bit too. That's one thing I really enjoyed about seeing the software. Now, I started looking at blue ribbons, but then there's another factor I started to look at. I kind of don't care about blue ribbons anymore. I want to talk about the time spent on the program. So Study Island's able to log in, and when I log in on my teacher report, I know when they logged in, what their IP address was, and what they did, and what game they played, and everything else, all right? So time spent. So I highlighted, first of all, I pulled only the students who were completely red on every single PMA test. PMA 1, PMA 2, PMA 3. So what happened in the diagnostic? So I had students who were all red all the time. And did anything change in the diagnostic test? Any volunteers for that?
Went up to yellow.
Yeah, it went up to yellow. Thank you, Ms. Cherney, right? So, and then the students who went up to yellow spent the most time on Study Island. Because I realized that time spent doesn't necessarily mean ribbons earned. We had kids, because we failed to monitor them, did the same test like 20 times. So they were actively doing questions. They were actively in the game, actively doing the things they needed to do. But the time spent, you're talking over 10, 11 hours, over 3 hours, those kids made some gains. So just the fact that they were sitting in front of the computer doing Study Island, their gains for these 5 kids highlighted in green, they went up 6%, 12%, 24%, 13%, and then also 11%. So just the fact that, they really weren't earning, some of them, a lot of ribbons, right? But just the fact that you're spending 326 minutes in the course of 4 to 5 weeks on a program, I think was very helpful. So again, generally speaking, the more time spent on the program, the better the performance based on that data, right? And then one of the reasons why students didn't earn maybe blue ribbons, maybe that's not the metric to look at, because again, they were repeating stuff over and over and over again, or they were on it but didn't get that 70%. So maybe they got a 60% or a 55, but I can also track that too and see how they are improving. So are there any questions about Study Island? Any comments or concerns from anybody? All right, and just one last slide, and I think we'll probably do. So average time spent. These are the 6 weeks leading up to the FSA. So we started right after spring break. We met our goals. The blue bars, right, show science, and then we have computers and health. Some students did complete all of the 5th grade standards, so we were able to move them on to other subjects. So kids were actively using it. When you have a school that's roughly, we had somewhere between 87 and 90 kids on it. You can see when you're getting over 40, almost 40, near 60 minutes, that we had a lot of time spent on this. So with that, is there anything else we want to share or any questions about Study Island? Do you think we should probably use it in the future? Well, the good news is OCPS did allow it for all of next year.
Woo!
So all the schools will be having this in their toolbox for next year. It's already been purchased. All right, I appreciate it, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.